Now, Suzette Jordan and Linda Garner are going to come talk to us just a little bit about the National Convention. They attended it in Tampa. Sounds like they had a fun time, and we might all have to go in 4 more years.
Linda and I had the opportunity to attend the RNC convention in Tampa 2 weeks ago, and we headed straight into the eye of the storm, we thought, with the hurricane coming our way. And I know a lot of relatives thought we were crazy heading down while everybody else was supposed to be leaving. But anyway, we went down, and we waited and waited and had one little rainstorm, and that's it. But anyway, we had a wonderful time, and I'm going to talk a little about the events that the South Carolina delegation were able to participate in and the sponsors, and then Linda's going to talk actually about the convention itself. We were very well taken care of. There were probably between 120 and 130 people with the South Carolina delegation. I was an alternate to the convention, and Linda was a guest. But we both got to do everything that the delegates got to do except vote to put Governor Romney on the ballot. So we had a wonderful time. Monday morning we started off with, we were at the same hotel about an hour, good time from Tampa, from the convention center, with the Florida delegation. So Tropicana and several other groups sponsored a breakfast for us, and we had Governor Nikki Haley as an honored guest. We had Governor Rick Scott from Florida, and we also had a guy from the Florida House of Representatives, who is going to be the next Speaker of the House in Florida. And they have 8-year term limits, so they don't stay in very long. But they sponsored a breakfast, and we had a wonderful time. On Tuesday, we had just the South Carolina delegation, and we were honored to have Senator Marco Rubio as our guest speaker, and he was wonderful. I think Myrtle Beach sponsored that breakfast. On Wednesday, we had the South Carolina delegation of the House of Representatives, so we had Representative Scott, Representative Duncan, and Representative Mulvaney, and we also had a representative from Florida who was also on the host committee of the RNC come and speak to us. So that was a treat. And Senator Lindsey Graham was the keynote speaker for that breakfast. Then on Thursday was the highlight probably for everybody in the South Carolina delegation. We had Governor Chris Christie. So he was wonderful. Linda had brought in some things that we got from the sponsors. We had Arriva, which is a company from France that is working to and with the Oconee nuclear plant for storage of nuclear waste. And they sponsored an event for us on a yacht. We were not able to go out on the river because the RNC security was so tight. They had Coast Guard there guarding us. They had a Secret Service police from all over the state of Florida, law enforcement officers. But they sponsored something on a yacht. They gave us umbrellas, and the RNC made us throw them away as soon as we got there because we couldn't take them in.
And red sunglasses.
Red sunglasses.
Yes.
Oh.
Aflac was another speaker. And all of these gifts you can't see unless you come up and look at them, but they all say 2012 Republican National Convention. My favorite was an elephant from AT&T. They sponsored an event for us on board a ship one night at 1 o'clock in the morning. A lot of our events were after the RNC was over at 11:30 or 12. We also got shirts from the South Carolina GOP. So we just had a really good time, and I don't know if any of you are aware of Karen Floyd's new endeavor called Palladian View. It's a blog for conservative women, so I would encourage you to go to see that. One of our last events was hosted by the Palladian View, and Attorney General Wilson was our speaker at that event. So as a sideline, as a little ad for Karen, I would encourage you to go look at her website, palladianview.com, I think is what it is. So Linda is now going to tell you about the actual convention itself.
Actually, I was probably the most exciting event I have ever been to. And I know, Wendy, y'all have been before, Barb, you and I've been before, but this was just so exciting. And actually, the most exciting part after Romney's nomination, the second most exciting thing was when the balloons came down and all the confetti. And it was just, took a lot of logistics to get this to happen. And I'm sort of that kind of person, so it was really interesting to me to see and to find out that they had put all these thousands of balloons up Thursday prior to the meeting, and they had them in nets, and they had them programmed so that each one would release at a certain time in a certain location in the arena, so that everybody, you know, everybody got a chance to be under the balloons and under the confetti. And actually the sensation in there was wonderful when everything came down, you know. And I know, Cheryl, you've been to conventions too, so.
It's been 24 years.
Oh, well, okay.
I just counted up, I thought, oh my.
Yeah.
It's still exciting to me.
But I think probably there were, of course, the speakers were wonderful, and most of you heard that. Being there and really sort of getting a feel of the personal impact, it's a little different when you see and can listen to them there without all the cameras and all the interruptions. The personal impact to me was extremely good. It really sort of cemented some of my ideas that I had about the candidates. It made me feel more sure of those candidates just by being there in the presence to hear them speak. And just one little note, Suzette mentioned, but the delegates, alternates, and guests, and we did have a lot of guests from South Carolina, but the delegates were very kind to Suzette and to all of the guests. We got to go on the main floor. I was sitting on the main floor with the delegates when Ann Romney spoke.
Oh, okay.
So that was a really good thing. But actually where we sat as the alternates was a much better seat than being on the floor. Because people tend to stand in the aisles and block your view and so forth. But one thing that I would like to add is that with the thousands of people that were there, I did not see anyone push and shove. I did not see anyone get angry. And I waited in line for 1 hour for a hot dog. I mean, you just accepted the fact that there were just a lot of people there. You had to be patient. But the security was unbelievable. They had a 6-block radius blocked off. They had SWAT teams. They had helicopters. They had blocks on every street. Every street had barriers on them. And we were bussed in. And really, some of our bus drivers, it took us an hour and 2 hours. I think some of our bus drivers were Democrats, and they didn't really want us to get there, but it was a long trip sometimes, especially when it was 2:30 in the morning and we were waiting to go back to our hotel. It took us 2 hours. We got back at 4:30. So it's just, but that was part of it, you know, that was just part of the things you sort of just accepted. But we stayed at the Innsbruck. I think she mentioned that, and the Innsbruck was a really nice resort. So once we got away from the convention, we had just one little example, then I'll hush. We would go out of the convention, and we would line up in a line and stand there maybe 30 to 40 minutes to get on a bus. And there were hundreds of buses that would take us about, 20 more minutes? Sometimes an hour to another bus that would take us back to the hotel.
Wow.
So one night they got confused with the directions. That was a Democratic driver. They let us off, and we walked 12 blocks to get into the convention.
Wow.
So needless to say, you had to have good walking shoes, and you had to be willing to walk, and you had to be very patient. But we met some wonderful people from all different states. I was standing in line getting my hot dog, and there was a lady from California and a Secret Service guy standing there, and we just started talking. And I said, I just have a question. Where are you? I said, are you going to Charlotte next week? He said, yes. And I said, well, I'm just curious, where are you staying? And he said, I'm staying at Fort Mill. We have other agents that are staying in Greensboro. So see, Charlotte had the same problem because they didn't have the facilities to accommodate all the people. And his comment to me was, it's not going to be nearly as much fun in Charlotte. So, so we had a really great time, and I would encourage all of you. I've never been before, but there are ways to go. So you need to just work really hard, and if you really have a desire to go, it can happen. Thank you.
And Linda didn't tell you that Clint Eastwood's chair was behind the teleprompter, and I couldn't see it, and I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't throw the protester out of the room. So we have a little gift to give to someone, and what we're going to do is to choose somebody who has a birthday closest to today. Does anybody have a September birthday? All right, there are 4 of you. When is yours?
Mine?
Yes.
The 5th. It was the 5th.
The 5th, 29th, 2nd.
23rd.
Yours is the closest. So this is just it is stuff that we were given for free. So, but it's just stuff from the convention, and we'd like for you to have it.